My name is Captain Finney McDiddy. I'm the captain of the SOS Mutiny. It's a famous pirate ship. I want to tell you a story about a mighty sailor named Tyler. I told you about how he got his name, Tyler the Mighty. But now I want to tell you how he became an expert treasure hunter. Okay, now there's a legend a long time ago of two islands right in the middle of the pirate sea. There was an island of goodness and an island of dark. The island of goodness was beautiful and wonderful. You know, rainbows and had waterfalls and sun shining all around, and even the merfolk, they say, would come up and play on the beach there, and it was beautiful. And the people there who lived, and they lived in peace, and they lived in harmony, and they loved. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. They had a good life. And not far away, or just over the horizon, you can see the island of dark. And it was always dark and gloomy. It was not a good place at all. And there was a rumor going around the little village there in the island of good that the people who occupied the island of dark were going to come and invade and take their treasure. Well, you know what? They're like me. I don't like people taking my treasure. So what they did, they gathered around the village and they talked and they discussed it, and they said, you know, we need to take our treasure and take it and hide it. In case they did come over here, they would try to take our treasure, they wouldn't be able to find it. We had to put it away, hide it. So what they did, they all got together. They gathered up all the treasure in the village and they put it in a chest. Real big chest. Alright? And they were thinking, you know, where could we hide it at? There's no place around here. We couldn't dig a hole, because if we dig a hole and put some dirt on top, they would be able to see we just dug a hole there. And then the people from the bad island would come over and they would say, yeah, that's where they hid the treasure. We had to have a good place to hide it. So they thought and they remembered the cave. There's a cave, one big cave on the island that when their ancestors first came to the island, that's where they lived in until they built the huts down on the beach. And it was also the place they would go every time a big storm come through. The elders would gather up everybody in the village and go hide in the caves until the storm passed. So they decided to hide the treasure there. They drug it all the way through the jungle and into the cave. And they put the treasure in the cave. And when they walked out of the cave, they realized, you know, that's a pretty big cave. It's a pretty big opening. You know, anybody walking through the jungle is going to find this cave. We need some way of hiding it. So the elders went down to the beach and they talked to the merfolk. And there's one little mermaid who knew a few magic spells. She told them, she said, since you are people of good, you know, I will give you a spell to hide the entrance to the cave. So she did. She put a spell in the cave to hide the entrance. And that was funny, just odd, because 2 weeks later, a storm hit. And the wind started blowing, the water started getting rough, the people were scared and running around. They were trying to find the cave. And they realized, oh my gosh, we valued our treasure so much, we were so scared. And we valued our treasure more than our safety. We hid the treasure in the cave and we sealed the entrance, and we can't even find the cave now. We don't know where the cave is. And the merfolk, they're nowhere to be found. They're down in their land, their lair under the sea. They don't know where we can't find anybody. And the storm's coming. The seas are getting bigger and bigger. The clouds are forming and rolling in off the shore. We knew it was time to do something. What they did, they got in their boats and they went to the far side of the island, and they sailed as far as they could, as fast as they could, and they barely made it off the island before the storm hit. And they never returned. They sailed for 2 weeks and never found the island again. They eventually settled in New Jersey. But you know, that is what our next adventure was going to be. There we were, me and my crew. You know, one of my good friends, a part of me crew, we always called him Lucky Larry. He's a good man, until he walked the plank. And then we called him Unlucky Larry. But you know, another part of me crew is Tyler the Mighty. He was brave and true. He was a really good pirate. So what we did, we got together, the crew and I, and we waited there on the sandbar. Remember, we were stuck for a couple of days. The water eventually came in and it rose the boat up enough. And what we did, we sailed out to sea. Right into the ocean, into the blue. And we set our sights for the Island of Good. We were going to get that treasure. But we didn't quite know where to find it. We had to wait till dark, because legend has it, you can only find it by following the stars at night. So when night came, we followed the North Star. And when we got to the middle star, we took a left. And then we saw, bright and early the very next day, we saw the most dark and gloomy, horrible looking island you could ever imagine. Out of the sea rose this big rock of clouds and lightning, and Tyler says, "Aye, that must be Good Island." And I was thinking out loud, if that's Good Island, I'd hate to see Bad Island, because that must be really, really spooky. But we weren't quite sure what island it was, so we crept around ever so easily, and we cleared the island, and just beyond the island, we could see another island off in the distance, with rainbows popping out of it, and sun beaming down on it, and I was thinking, wow, now that's an island for me. That's what I'm talking about. That's gotta be Good Island. So we sailed as close as we could to the shore without getting stuck. You know, we get stuck on the sandbar in Mississippi. We wait for the water to come and fill the channel and pick us up and move us off, but we get stuck out there. We're stuck for good. So we had to, what we did, we got as close as we could, and then, see, on every pirate ship, there's a little boat called a dinghy. So we put the dinghy in the water. It's a little rowboat, and me and Tyler, we climbed down in the rowboat, and we started rowing our way to shore. And we rowed all the way to shore. We get to the beach, and we pulled out our swords, and we hacked our way to the jungle. For 2 weeks we hacked our way to the jungle. And we never could find the cave. We didn't know where it was. We were just about to give up. And we turned around and headed back to the beach to get back into the little dinghy, when suddenly we heard some crying. We were like, wow, what is that? So we went out in search. We tried to find the crying, where it was coming from. And we came across a young lass sitting on the beach, crying. And we walked over to her, and we says, "What's wrong, young lass?" And she says, my friends who lived here in the island, they went away one day, and they never came back, and I don't know where they are. I don't know how to find them." And I told her, well, I know where to find them. I know where they are. And she goes, yeah, but I told her, you need a boat to get there. She said, no, I don't need a boat. I'm a mermaid. I said, nah, there's no such thing as a mermaid. And she goes, oh yeah, watch this. And she puts her feet in the water, and sure enough, her legs turn into a tail. And I was like, wow, that's a really neat trick. So I told her, you know, I tell you what, you miss your friends, you want to see your friends so bad. I tell you where to find them. They went away. They resettled in the land of New Jersey. And I even drew her a map there on the sand. I got me a stick. I drew her a map and showed her exactly how to find her friends. And she was so grateful. And she told me, she said, you know, I know you came in search of the treasure, but the treasure is only for the pure of heart. And she said, since you showed such such a good deed, I can tell that you and Tyler, you and your friend there, are pure of heart. And I will tell you how to find a cave, and I will tell you the magic word to open up the secret entrance. So she told us, and we walked through the jungle again, and we found the cave, and we stood there at the cave, where she said it was. And Tyler and I stood shoulder to shoulder, and we shouted the magic word. Open sesame. And the ground started shaking, and rocks started tumbling down the cliff, and this big boulder rolls ever so slightly. And beyond the big boulder, we saw the entrance to the cave. There it was, hidden, tucked away behind a big rock. So we walked all the way up to the entrance of the cave. And it was pretty dark in there. And I said, Tyler, what do you want to do? And Tyler said, trust me. Okay, I trust you. So he closes his eyes and he walks into the cave. I right behind him. I says, Tyler, why you close your eyes for? He says, it's dark in there. There's no light. You cannot see. Why leave your eyes open? Good point. So I followed him into the cave. He knew where to go. The treasure was calling to him. He knew exactly where to go. And sure enough, he found it. He found the chest. We couldn't see to open it, so him and I drug it all the way to the entrance of the cave so we can see. And we opened up the treasure chest. And there, right on top of the treasure chest, was this huge rock tablet. And etched in its stone was written, "We the people of Good Island. We the people of Good Island find these truths to be our most noble treasure. 1, to always be true to yourself and to others. 2, to always love your neighbor. And 3, always be a good friend and help a friend indeed." And we thought that was a great, great idea for a treasure, you know. Words of wisdom are always the best treasure. And then we picked up the clay tablet, and there was a whole bunch of gold. A pirate loves his gold. So what we did, we put the tablet back in the chest, closed the chest, and drug it back to the beach, and loaded it up on a dinghy, and rowed it back to shore, or rowed it away from shore back to the boat. The SOS Mutiny. And we hoisted the chest on board, and Tyler and I climbed up on shore, up on the ship, and from henceforth, Tyler the Mighty was also known as the expert treasure hunter, because he knew how to find the treasure in the dark. They called to him. What a good sailing man he was. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I hope you had a good time. Until we meet again, have a good night.